Hi, welcome to How to Repair. Well, I thought I'd make a video for you on an update. I'm actually in Portugal and I'm having to do some work on my vehicle. And as you can see, we've had to lift the van up with a boat hoist to actually get it off the ground so I can actually strip down the suspension unit and also rectify the electrical problems. Now, the reason I'm making this video is YouTube now really is the Encyclopedia Britannica for stripping down vehicles, repairing washing machines, tumble dryers and cookers. And if I didn't go to the effort of making this video, someone else would still be looking for the faults that arose with my van. Now, as you all know, last year I went to Morocco to have a look at the appliance industry in Northern Africa, and the roads took the toll on this van. It got shaken to bits going over the Atlas Mountains down to the Sahara Desert, and I ended up with lots of electrical problems, and I've also done a lot of damage to the rubbers underneath the vehicle. And I'm going to show you the common faults that can occur on this Hobby 700. Okay, my van is a Fiat Ducato and it's a Hobby 700. It's an Alco chassis, which is the back half. It's a triaxle. And she's got an Iveco 2.8 litre diesel, and she was manufactured approximately 2004. Now, first thing I'm going to show you is the first earth fault that occurred, and that was in the engine bay. To give you context, what actually happened was I parked up for 4 or 5 days just on the edge of the Sahara Desert, and when I came to start the vehicle, I was getting no power at all. After measuring the battery, I was fully charged at about 13.2 volts, but when I was checking the fuse board, I was only actually getting 9 volts to the dash. And the problem was the actual earthing rivet, which is built into the chassis at the front left-hand side of the vehicle looking backwards, the rivet itself had become loose, and this was causing an intermittent electrical problem. Therefore, I was not getting enough voltage for cranking the engine over. So what I've done here is I've actually created a plate which is actually bolted onto the chassis now, and that's got 3 stainless steel bolts bolted into the chassis, and I'm never going to end up with this type of fault again. These rivets that they put in are brilliant, but after the roads going down over the Atlas Mountains, the shaking on the whole vehicle, because the roads were unpaved and I had to drive about 180 miles on an unpaved road, basically had shaken a lot of the bits and pieces on the vehicle. And that's why it's so stripped down at the moment, because I'm replacing not only all the suspension rubbers but all the gaiters underneath the vehicle. Stone chipping has been a big problem, and what I'm doing is actually laser cleaning all the parts that are on this vehicle now I've stripped it, before actually replacing the rubbers, but we'll go into that later in the video. Now, the next problem that occurred was because of the earth fault on the actual engine bay, I had been getting surges of electricity, and this had caused the old battery system to fail. I believe it's most probably blown the diodes on the main circuit board, and I wanted to replace this with a Victron charger anyway. But what I will tell you, and this is where it will be very useful for someone, do not believe the colour coding. Although this is a German manufactured Hobby 700, which was built in the days when Germany did fantastic engineering. There's nothing wrong with this vehicle whatsoever, once I finished all the problems, of course. But when it comes to the wiring loom that goes through to the display on the actual internal side of the van, the red is actually the earth. The grey is also the other wire that you need to worry about, because that's the positive feed to the heads-up display. And the heads-up display measures the water levels in the 2 tanks, which is the fresh water and also the grey water. And then there are a couple of wires which run down to the 2 batteries, or 12-volt batteries, that are on the vehicle. One is the engine battery and the other battery is the house battery. And what I've done now is bypass this completely. But what you really want to be concerned with is always check the wiring loom that runs from this battery charger to the heads-up display, because the actual wiring isn't configured in the colouring that you'd expect. The actual red on the wiring harness is the actual negative. And if I just pull this off for you so you can see, Hopefully this zooms in well enough. The red on this wiring harness was the earth, and the grey is the actual feed which goes through, or the positive, through to the display that allows the lights to illuminate and also measure the voltage on the batteries as well, and also the instrumentation for the water tanks. And I'll take you quickly to have a look at that. Now, those small wires that come up from the battery charger are only for the data display and to actually carry the measurements of voltage on the house battery and the engine battery. Now, at the moment, I only have the red and the grey connected. The red is the negative and the grey is the live feed that comes to the heads-up display. I've actually got to work out the configuration for the engine battery, because the engine battery is not connected at the moment because I've got all the actual front of the vehicle off. But if I press the button now, you can see that I've got my wastewater, my fresh water. The amperage will have to put another meter in for this, so I can actually measure what's being pulled off the house battery. And then we have the house battery, which is showing 12.2, 12.3 volts. And of course, once I reconnect up the engine battery, that will be another cable that I need to use in the wiring harness that goes through to here. Now, the whole of this vehicle is predominantly run by Victron system, and that's a totally separate circuit altogether, as you can see here. I've actually got a 2 kilowatt inverter with 3 kilowatt of lithium ion battery, which is under one of the seats, and I've got roughly 1600 watts on the roof. But you can find all about that in another video. Okay, and let me just quickly show you what I've replaced the battery charger with. And if I flip the camera around, I've actually put the heavy duty cables that came from here, and I've actually taken those cables, which have now gone on to 2 isolator switches. One is for the house battery and the other one is for the engine battery. And I've put a 30 amp Victron single charger there, which is wired up to both of the actual isolators. So I can either charge both batteries together or charge them individually to maintain the optimum performance. And that's basically how I've bypassed the system. Now let's look at the rest of the engine and the suspension unit. Okay, I must apologise to you because I never finished this video that you're watching correctly when I was down in Portugal, because I only had a few days left, according to the European law now, with British people only being able to stay inside Europe for 90 days in any 180. And the 18th of June was my last day in Europe. So in all the rush and all the problems I had getting the components to arrive on time, I forgot to make the video. But I'm here now on the Atlantic route, going up the coast of Ireland to Donegal, and I'll be doing lots of videos, and I've most probably already done lots of videos at this point. Now, the reason I'm parked up here in the middle of nowhere at the moment is because after rebuilding the van, I replaced all the rubbers, all the engine mounts on the bottom, and literally every component, including the discs, the drive shafts, were replaced. But I had a mishap, and somehow the CV joint on the passenger side, which is normally the driver's side on British vehicles, but I'm left-hand drive, split. And somehow I ended up with a hole in it. And if you look down here, you can see all the grease. Now, I've done a separate video because I found a way to repair these very easily on the side of the road for a temporary fix. The CV joint is actually packed full of grease, and this is what lubricates the knuckle. And because it had split, I had grease coming up all over the wheel arch, and the weather that I've dragged up from Portugal to Ireland has absolutely been very, very hot. We have seen temperatures in the UK, in Europe, and also in Ireland exceeding well over 35 degrees. Now, I actually came up here because it was cool and I was able to do the work with the Atlantic breeze. But I didn't realise it was such a beautiful and stunning place. Now, you've seen all the work that I've done with the van, and I've done lots of videos with regards cleaning the components with a laser cleaner, laser rust remover, and that did a fantastic job. It's a lovely cool day today, but yesterday was stifling. But the view here is absolutely incredible. You've got, I believe it's called Puffin Island and Skellig Island out there. And over on the other side, which I've made many mistakes on in other videos, I called it Horse Island, and it's not, it's actually Puffin Island and Skeg Island. You've got all the normal map information on this route, but this is actually a war memorial to some pilots that died on the 27th of February 1944, and they crashed either into the ocean or into the headland here, and this is a war memorial for them, which is a nice tribute to them really, when you consider it's only a plane that went down, but I believe at least 7 or 8 people died on that aircraft, most probably transporting it from the States to here, where they most probably had to refuel and then go across to Britain. But anyway, it's a lovely overcast day for a change. The repair's done. I'm going to be doing lots of videos for you with my 360 cameras up here, and they will record the scenery while I go up this wild Atlantic route. And I've had lots of neighbours with me at the moment who have kept me company. None of them have donated a rump or sirloin to my cause, but I'll most probably pick that up in the supermarket. Sorry to you all you vegans. I do like a steak occasionally, and a beer to go with it. Anyway, today we are going up to Dingle, and that means I'm having a night off. It's Friday night, and the beer will be flowing. I'm going to be having a few jars of the black stuff and really enjoying my first real night out. The hospitality here in Ireland has been absolutely incredible. The people are, well, you know, I've had farmers stop 2 or 3 times while up here offering me assistance, but when they realised that I had a channel called How to Repair, they realised that just let him get on with it. Anyway, all the locals have been brilliant. The roads are incredible. Although the tarmac was melting yesterday, literally I traipsed a load of tar into the vehicle, but I am going to be putting new carpets in the vehicle when I go down to Africa later in the year as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helped someone with the problems that I have had with this Hobby 700. There is a lot of teething problems when you use a vehicle going over wild terrain and bad roads. I mean, you do shake it to bits, and I think I am very happy with everything I've done. Everything is working. I still need to get a couple of electrical meters to replace the amperage being drawn on the heads-up display, because I haven't got a shunt in line on the batteries to show what I'm pulling. And I'm also going to have to wire up another meter to show me and use the wiring loom that's existing in the vehicle to wire up the cranking battery, the starter battery, so I can see what the voltage is in the cranking battery. But I will do that when I'm down in my workshop in South Wales. Now, I'm visiting partners with the Right to Repair Act all over Ireland, and I'm also going to be visiting a load in the UK as well, and I'll be making much more video content for you in the future. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Give the video a thumbs up if you could, and also subscribe to the channel if you wish. And if I've really helped you on any of these repairs, remember, you can always donate to the website by clicking on the Buy Paul a Beer page. Thanks very much indeed for watching.